Welcome. Thanks for getting up early in the morning. I know realtors usually, I heard that they like to just spend time in their pajamas while they're working in the morning and having coffee or whatever it is that you have. So thanks for coming, and I'll make sure that this time that we spend together is valuable to you. And I hope you get a lot of information out of the book itself. Of course, my name is Stephen Sidnor, and I moved to East Texas about 15 years ago from the Dallas area. And live in White House and just love East Texas, and so we enjoy being out here. I have been through several challenges in my life. I've been a business owner, a salesperson. I've worked for large companies, small companies, raising a family, and just going through life creates a lot of challenges, doesn't it? And so that's what I want to talk to you this morning. The book is called Survive or Thrive, ? Creating the life you want out of the life you have. And I'm going to show you how to do that in this hour that we have here. Let me ask you this question. What do you do when change hits? Because how many of you have experienced a lot of change in the last year? Would you raise your hand? Yeah, everybody has. Everywhere I go, every company I talk to, every individual I talk to is going through a lot of changes. Relationship changes, financial changes, career changes, some confusion, some uncertainty, a lot of doubt. And when you get all that together and you mix it up, it's a good recipe to get stuck in survive mentality. All right? And we have a lot of shows that kind of promote that the best you can do is just what? Survive. Isn't that right? Like a song, only the what survive? You know, only the strong survive. And we have these shows called Survivor, and they're out for themselves, and you've seen that. And what I'm going to show you is that survive mentality is natural. It's natural to all of us. Okay. But at some point, you've got to make a decision to take that experience, take those fears and concerns, take the hurt that you went through, take that negative experience or whatever's keeping you from moving forward, and you've got to put it in a different place, or you're going to find that you're going to be stuck there. And if you're stuck there, you're going to find that you're not going to be as effective. So what do you do when hit with change? What do most people do? What do? Let me show you what they do. They go into survive mode. This is a little turtle. I was driving down Interstate 20, coming back home, and I could see up there this fairly large turtle crossing the freeway. Now, the first thing that I thought of is I don't want to hit that turtle because I don't want to kill a turtle, you know. And here's this thing. He's going by, and every time a car went by him, what does the turtle do? He pulls into its shell, doesn't it? And when we get hit with change, especially something that surprises us or something that's difficult or something that's challenging, and it could be a large change like a divorce, it could be a financial setback, it could be a small change, something you expected. It could be you're 100% sure that this client's deal was going to close and they were going to go with you, only to find out that they're not going with you. And so you have these big changes and these small changes. And what those experiences tend to do to us is just like this turtle, we do what? We pull into our shell. All right? And when we pull into our shell in a survive mode, there's a couple of things that actually happen. How many can relate to that? When you get hurt, you pull into your shell. As Terry said, I'm a performance coach, and so I work with a lot of companies or individuals. And when you find people that are not doing as well as they should be doing, a lot of times I find that they're just simply not doing the right activities. In fact, they're not doing enough of those activities. And when you get underneath, why aren't you doing what you know you should be doing? It's because something's holding them back, something's keeping them from moving forward. And that would be a symptom of being in survive mode. Because when we get fearful, what do? We pull in. We get fearful in a relationship, we pull in, and that's where we get stuck. Does that make sense to you? So that's a natural response. But here's what it looks like when you go into survive mode. First of all, a lot of people go into a shock mode for a while. Did you know that? When something happens that surprises you, you'll feel a lot of emotion and you'll go into shock mode. I remember when I was 15 years old, I was riding a motorcycle in Richardson, Texas, down Spring Valley Road. I was on the back of the motorcycle with a guy named Larry, and a car pulled out in front of us, and we didn't have time to get out of its way, and we hit this car going about 50 miles an hour. I'm on back of the motorcycle. Thank God, if you ride a motorcycle, you better be wearing a helmet, because if I didn't have a helmet on, I just would not be here today. But I flew off the bike, my head hit the rim of the car, I flew straight up in the air, did a couple of flips, and I'm sitting in this chair just like Myra's sitting right here. I was sitting on the side of the car, on the passenger side, just like she's sitting right here. I jumped out of the car, or I opened my eyes, and the first thing I thought about is, of course, what happened. You know, it happened so fast I couldn't believe what happened. And the next thing I did is I jumped off the car. I thought my legs were broke, and I found out they're not broke. And actually, I didn't have a broken bone at all. And I still had my helmet on. I wasn't sure where Larry was. And I walked over to the side of the road, and I laid down. And as I'm walking to the side of the road, I'm thinking wild, crazy thoughts like, man, what time is it? Or where's my dad? Or I started thinking about a paper that I needed to do in school that I never turned in. And I started thinking things that were just kind of crazy. And then when people were talking to me, I was just completely in what? Shock mode. And that's what happens because there's such a rush of emotion that when you're in shock mode, you're not sure who you are. In fact, you're not sure where you are, okay? And that's one of the indicators here. When you get hurt, you withdraw, okay? When something doesn't happen the way you want to, you go in survive mode and you withdraw. Another thing you do is you feel what? Helpless, okay? It's a natural response. Here's another thing. When people get into survive mode, they start blaming. And why do we do that? It's because we're hurt. And one of the first things we do is start blaming people. Let's say that there's a top producer, and you're looking at them, and man, they're really doing a lot of deals and closing a lot of business. Okay, and so when you feel in survive mode because of the economy, one of the first things that you do in survive mode is start what? You start blaming the economy. You start blaming others. You start looking at them and saying, man, you know, instead of looking what they're doing and emulate what they're doing, you start blaming them. Another thing you do is you feel hopeless and you have a lot of emotions. Here's another thing that when you get in survive mode, and you'll see this in people, they become very passive. And instead of proactive, they become more what? Reactive. Okay? They don't feel enabled. They don't feel empowered. Okay? They actually start absorbing energy from people. Have you ever sat down at a cup of coffee with a friend of yours and they went through an experience maybe last year, and sometimes it's 5 years later, you know, 5 years ago, and they're still talking about what? They still want to relive that experience, all right? And when they do that, they're absorbing energy from you, okay? Instead of supplying you with energy, which is what thrivers do, they actually absorb energy, okay? So blaming, absorbing energy, reacting to circumstances, and they don't feel enabled. They have a can't-be-done what? Mindset. That means that they're looking at the economy, they're looking at the markets changing, and they start telling themselves, this what? Can't be done. I can't do this. And when you get into a can't mindset, you know what that does for you? Want it. Yeah, you're whipped already, and you already know that. And if you're in real estate, a realtor, which all of you are independent business people. That means if you're the only one that makes it happen, is that right? And you can't run around thinking this can't be done. Okay, I'll share a couple of stories with you in a little bit that talk about that. Another survivor mentality is present focus, where a thriver is future focus. A present focus survivor mindset. That means that the best I can do is get to 5 o'clock today. Okay? My best plan is that's as far as I can see is 5 o'clock. And sometimes when people are in survive mindset, that they can only see till lunchtime. And that means they're only operating in the present. Whatever happens today is all I get done today. All right? They're not focused on a month out. These are the things that I need. This is how many people I need to see. This is how many closings I need to do. And they're not back looking at the goal that they have and then backing up and heading towards a goal. Okay? They're only dealing with what? Whatever's happening today. all right? They don't have a lot of goal orientation. They're not a real good planner. And when you're in survive mode, you'll see that in people. And sometimes you probably already see it in yourself. I know I do. Sometimes there's things in my life I'm thriving for, and there's some things in my life that just seem to be stuck. And honestly, I want to be that turtle. I want to pull in that shell. Well, the problem with the turtle on Interstate 20 is that you don't need to get in that shell, because if you pull in that shell, your chances of getting run over are a lot higher than if you try to walk as fast as you can to get to the other side. And that's the difference, one of the differences between survive and thrive. Another thing that's on here is unclear identity. You're not sure who you are right now. We do these personality assessments, and you'll answer 184 questions. It's binary forced choice, and it gives you kind of a DNA of certain behaviors. And when people are going through some kind of trauma, did you know it'll show up on, I can look at this assessment, look at their scores, and turn to them and say, what's happening in your life? And then sometimes they start crying. How did you know? Well, because these scores indicate that you don't know who you are. You're trying to be all things to all people. When you have a lot of emotion, when things aren't going right, and you're scared, and you're confused, and you're not sure, and you don't have a plan, what happens is you lose your identity. You don't know who you are. And so then you try to overcompensate, and you're kind of like all things to all people. You know, you can't hold your opinion. You start receiving the opinion of others. And these are all indicators of survive mode. Can you relate to some of this? Yeah, I know I can.